everybody. It's Friday, which means it's time for Facebook Live. Coming across your timeline right now. Super late compared to normal. It's 3 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm usually trying to be on a little earlier than this, but it just wasn't happening today. So anyways, welcome. And I want to get right to it because I have some things going on. The kids will be home soon, and I know you guys have lots as well. So when you come in, please write your name and the state or country from which you are watching. So fun to have that little roll call. As you guys know, I love seeing that. I do check the comments after we start after this is broadcasted. I do kind of as the day goes on and the weekend, we'll check everything out. So I also am having construction around my house again, just like a couple weeks ago. So if you hear some odd sawing noises and stuff, this must be the place to be. So, all right. Hey, Candy from North Carolina, Laura from Florida. I'm Claire from Ohio, for those of you who are new and aren't maybe sure where I'm from. I wonder if my actual readers would be able to say where I'm actually from, the consistent people. Do you guys know that? Or I'm Ohio girl. I think I'm always talking about Ohio, so maybe not. Anyways, yes, we'll build an audience here. I'll take a quick sip of water. Hey, Cassie from Delaware. Cool. Brianna from California. Debbie from Ohio. Hey, Debbie. I've actually met Debbie before. Emily from LA. Nice. I haven't been to LA in a couple years. I'm due for a trip. If you guys wouldn't mind at the start of this broadcast, if you want to share this, you kind of saw a little bit of the topic that we're going to talk about today. But as you know, if you feel like in general the message that I have to share is beneficial to anyone else in your life, a like-minded person such as you and I on this community, then I would love it if you shared this. It means so much. Just take the button, share, and share it to your timeline and to your news feed, maybe to a private group, an accountability group. Maybe your guys are like, let's see what she says today before we start sharing, which is fine. Hey, Kayla from Louisiana. Hi there. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can kind of get through a few of the items. I'm going to start with some of the administrative stuff. So if you're on this video right now and you're doing the Living an Active Challenge, just a few things to tell you. Number one, make sure that you check in. Make sure you go to my blog and you fill out that Google form. If you're like, I'm not sure if it worked, if you didn't get that confirmation at the end, just shoot me an email. I'll double check that for you. So let me know. Just make sure you guys get that checked in. Like I said, we are a little over 360 people that are checked in. So I'm like super pumped about that. I kind of thought we would have a little bit more, I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know where you guys fell off. I don't know if the technology is a little confusing or if it just, you didn't feel like you wanted to check in or you don't care about the prizes and accountability. Remember this, even if you don't meet the criteria, I still want you to check in. Okay, so even if you don't do the verses and you've had the exercise done, it would still be awesome. I have plenty of you on there that are kind of like, no, it didn't work or I didn't get it all in. So if that's the case, that's totally fine. All right, so that's number one. Number two is I hope you got a chance to check out the grand prizes, the package that we have. I got that tied up and it's awesome. So make sure you check that out on the blog post and you visit some of the people who have donated the items. Super sweet of them to do that. This week, I was going to tell you, we had tons of people, of course, from all over the United States, different states, checking in, which is so cool. But we had people from Mexico, Canada, and India. So always fun, especially a girl being from Ohio right here, to have different people just as a part of this challenge. So know that you are not alone and that you are doing this in a group effort and that everything is happening together and that the Lord is working through this challenge through different people in different states and in different countries. I think that's really cool. I mean, that's the beauty of, social media, of course. Hi, Stacy from Michigan. I kind of have a Michigan color on right now. Let's see, meal prep. Real quick on the meal prep. That was one of the food challenges this week. And I know that I asked yesterday on my Facebook page, I was like, do you guys meal prep? What do you think about meal prepping? Is it hard? What are your go-tos on meal prepping? And got a lot of responses on that. I'm probably gonna go back through and maybe touch on a few of those. Here's the one thing I want you to remember about meal prepping. it is very unique and individual to each person and to each family. A lot of people were saying it's just overwhelming, I can't really do it. And I would agree with you, because there are so many people, if you go on Instagram or even on Facebook and you look at their meal prepping, maybe they have little specific containers and they have everything like on an Excel spreadsheet, like what they're gonna eat for the day. And it's like, wow, that's overwhelming. I can't really think that far ahead. I want to let you know that you don't have to meal prep like that. I don't. If you do and that feels good for you, then do that. But I think perhaps it's the expectation of what meal prepping looks like that is exhausting. There are some very base level ways for you to just kind of look at it like a tool to help you out, to say, like, I need some help this week in getting the food prepared for my family. And that's what meal preparation and just a little bit of work and insight will do. So that can be as basic as just a menu prepper, you know, making sure you know what you have for your menu. Or it can also, you can add on and actually make food at the beginning of the week and have that ready. You can divvy out salads through the week. You can make granola bars, you can make desserts and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it really runs the gamut. So hey, Holly, I know, I'm so glad you're on here live too. So just to let you know on meal prep, if you have more questions about meal prep, go ahead and put them below. But I will be honest with you, a lot with meal prep is just, you just gotta do it. Like, it's not flashy and it's not fun. Like, who wants to spend an hour in the kitchen like doing all that stuff on a Sunday afternoon? Initially, no one. Initially, no one's gonna wanna do that. But you will be thankful that you did it as the crazy week goes on and you're able to maintain your nutrition plan. And you're able to say like, oh, this actually was super beneficial for me. There are also ways to make meal prep a lot more fun. I listen to podcasts. If my kids are home, then it's kind of hard to do that, but it just depends. Sometimes I have my kids help. I do it if I have a girlfriend that comes over and they're just chatting about life. We'll move ourselves into the kitchen and I'll start chopping up veggies as we chat. So there's different ways you can kind of do it. You don't have to just be all by yourself. So I want to encourage you, there are really good ways, again, to meal prep, and it's a super positive thing. So this next week, as we go into week 3, we will definitely have another addition to kind of like that eating component of the challenge. So, hey, Stacy, watching with Grace. Oh, okay, Grace is a little baby that was, I don't know if I should say conceived. Stacy was pregnant with little Grace during the Living and Active Challenge, and Stacy started the Living and Active Challenge last year and had to stop because she was just pregnant. And now she has her little sweetie watching with us. So how fun is that? So, hey, Candy, cooking and listening to podcasts is perfect. It's how I get through. I'm a learner by nature. I love podcasts. I love them. And so I am just hungry for information most of the time in any area. And so meal prepping or just preparing the dinner for the night or whatever is really a good way to kind of get through those. Okay, so there's that. Week 2 of the Living and Active Challenge is daily dedicated. And this is a super important key, which is why it's at the front of the challenge, for us to remember. Because as I mentioned, and if you have the Living and Active book, I kind of talk about this in the devotional. It's easy to kind of store up your strength in batches. Like, we want to kind of be like, all right, Sunday, like I'm all amped for the week. I'm ready to get my workouts in. I'm ready to exercise. I've got my scripture down. And then like you might pray about it. You might be purposeful about it. And then you never touch base with God or kind of yourself until maybe Thursday. All right. And you're wondering why you're kind of like trailing off in the middle of this challenge. It's probably because you haven't touched base with God every single day about what's going on in your health. And so it's really important for us to be dedicated to this every single day. And you can, in practice, be dedicated to it. Like, in practice, you can get up and go through the motions and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want you to just be doing the motions, guys. That will get old fast. What you're going to want to do is touch base with God every single day. And then when I say kind of touch base with yourself, you need to, at the end of the day, be like, how did today go? Like, did I really feel like I balanced the time that I spent away at the gym or doing my workouts Or did I enjoy my food enough? Was I obsessing over it today? You need to be a little introspective. That has to happen every single day. Now, I'm not saying you have to like have a full journal and that you're just constantly writing things out and it's like this big process, because you don't have time for that. But I do believe that every night you should kind of just give yourself a little, how did that go today? And then kind of, where do I need to change tomorrow? What do I see coming up as a challenge for tomorrow? That's going to keep you guys in the ball game. It's this idea of just hoping and crossing our fingers that it's going to last us for another 4 or 5 days. It's just not going to fly. Think about it in your spiritual walk. If you just go to church on Sunday and you hear the sermon and maybe you're like amped up from the sermon or whatever, and you're like, yep, I'm going to be in the Word a little bit more this week, and you really never touch base with God or yourself on that, and you kind of just, before you know it, the accelerator button goes down and it's Thursday and you're like so dry and weak and nourished in your spirit. It's because essentially, whether you've realized, you've not said this, but you have assumed that Sunday was going to take care of you until Thursday or Friday, Monday, I don't know. That's what your actions are showing, is that you don't need this deep daily reliance on the Lord every single day. And so it crosses both ways for us, guys. We always want to make sure that we're doing both things and that we are really seeking God in those areas. I want to read out of a devotional. It reminded me, if you follow me on Instagram, I quote and put pictures of this devotional all the time. And I'm talking about it all the time. I love My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. I've read that through multiple times. I got that in high school. One of my top favorite kind of short daily devotional, if you're just kind of looking for something like a little bite. This one is my new favorite. It's Paul David Tripp, and it's New Morning Mercies. This thing's good. I love him anyways. He's just the bomb. So I'm reading one from August 14th. I remembered this when I was preparing to talk today. And it's talking about, well, new morning mercies. And if you remember, Lamentations is one of our memory verses for the week, the soul food. So this one in particular is talking about that. All right, it says, not only does God lavish on you love that will never cease and grace that will never end, and not only is He great in faithfulness, but the mercy He extends to you and to me is renewed each morning. It is not tired, stale, irrelevant, worn out, ill-fitting, yesterday mercy. No, God's mercy is new morning mercy. It is form-fitted for the needs of your day. It is sculpted to the shape of the weaknesses, circumstances, and struggles of each and every one of His children. Yes, we all get this same mercy, but it doesn't come to all of us in the same size and shape. God knows where you are, who you are, and what you're facing. And in the majestic combination of divine knowledge, power, and compassion, He meets you with just the right mercies for the moment. And I just think it's so powerful because it talks about how intimate the Lord is with each one of us in particular. I don't know about you guys, but God seems so big. I was praying the other day and I'm like, God, how are you able to manage my specific concerns? And He does. I'm telling you, He knows how to really work in my life specifically, but then also do it to the millions of other people, billions, whatever, in the world, and be consistent forever and beyond. I don't get it. Like, it blows my brain. So I think sometimes we don't know that God actually has this cup of mercy for us every day. What I loved is that He says it's form-fitted for the needs of the day. And it's sculpted just for you. Just for you. So like the Lord knows exactly what you're going through. And I feel like what happens is He's like, here is this beautiful cup of mercy and grace and for you today. And you just, basically what we do is just are like, oh, we don't even take it. We don't even take it, let alone and drink it, And so what we want to start do is waking up every single morning and saying, God, what is that morning mercy that you have for me? Because it's unique for today. What God needs to give me today was different than what He gave me yesterday. Where my weaknesses were yesterday are not necessarily going to be my weaknesses for next week. All right, the Lord knows exactly where you are in your life. And so maybe this is just a bigger theological thing for you. Maybe this is just you understanding the magnitude and the greatness of the Lord and his intimacy and his desire, his heart for you and him together. That's the most important thing. He is really building that intimacy. And we just sometimes don't even care about it. That's essentially what we're doing, guys, when we wake up and we don't want to spend time with God. We don't want to talk to him. We don't want to ask him any questions. And in a shallow way, the parallel is the same with our health, and he has that specific dose of mercy for our health concern on that day, right? So he actually knows what is needed. Let me tell you something really cool. A year ago today, if you remember my Facebook live from a year ago, I had talked about one of my girlfriends who, super healthy, was at my house during the day. At night, during the night, or like 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, ended up having a stroke. Didn't know at the time, but went to the hospital and they were able to keep her alive. And she's getting married in December, and here we are a year later, and everything's fine. She's healthy as can be, and the nurses and doctors couldn't believe it that she pulled through that. Her mercy and her need for God's grace on her health on that day, whole lot different than the need on a regular normal day of her life when she had everything working just fine. But God knew that. God prepared that for her, and she walked with the Lord, and her parents, thankfully, also were walking with the Lord, and were so prayerful in that time and reached out to so many friends. But God indeed stepped in and did a miracle for her in her life. And so, again, we all have something very specific. I don't know about you, but emotions go, hormones go, boo, all that stuff throughout the week and throughout the month, okay? So we don't want to miss what God has for us in that new morning mercy, okay? For those of you asking, this is the book. It's amazing. Get it for a friend. It's one of my favorites, okay? So that's what I want to tell you about being daily dedicated. Don't give up. You got to cheerlead your heart, girls. You got to cheerlead your heart every single morning in every single area of life that is important to you. Not just your health, not just your faith. You got to do it with your marriage. You got to do it with your children. I don't know what your big rocks are. I don't know what your priorities are. I know what mine are and what God's asked me to do. But it's this idea of getting up and being daily dedicated, okay? Let's see. We're now going to move into, real quick, Romans 8, which is the new passage that we're memorizing for this year of the Living and Active. Let's see, it's Romans 8, 5 and 6. We've added on verse 6. And it says, "For to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace." And again, this is a lot of what we talked about last week, about the flesh and the spirit and kind of that tension and tug and pull that we're going to have. But us as believers that have the Holy Spirit alive and well in our lives and who have been bought by that precious blood of Jesus, that's how we live our life, right? Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to struggle and that we're not going to have issues, but it's very clear that when we live according to the flesh, that it is death. And it is death for sure in how we act in our everyday life, okay? But if we live in the mind of, we put our mind on the Spirit, it is life and peace. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, we have life. Come on, I'm watching this thing. But really, life, abundant life, that's the life God wants you to have, right? That doesn't mean it is free of issues. Like, you're still going to have issues and still have life. You also can have peace and still have things that are bothering you in your life, right? But I think if anything this world is missing, it is peace. That's one of the biggest things that I find. And guess what? I wish I could say it was just with non-believers, but I find it with believers, just wrecked with anxiety and wrecked with fear and dread. And I'm sure, I know I've touched on this on the Facebook Live before, but just the state of the world and what are our children going to grow up in, and so much that consumes us as human beings. And nobody lives in peace anymore. I don't feel. And if they do, I don't see it. Or I don't see it on Facebook that well. Because, that's the top area where you find it. does actually manifest itself there, guys, in comments and things you post and stuff. But anyways, we want to have that spirit-filled life, which gives us that life and that peace, okay? And so again, we talked about Galatians 5 and how important that is to walk in step with the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit in our life. We have to be honest with ourselves and say, what sin is there in my life? What is it that is keeping me from that intimate relationship with the Lord? That's the first thing. When I notice that I feel anxiety or worry or just this, I don't know, dread or something, the first thing I need to do is ask myself, what sin do I have in my life? And I ask the Lord to search me. That's a bold prayer. Super bold prayer to say, God, search me in my heart and let me know of my sin. He'll search you. And it'll come out eventually. I don't know how it will manifest itself, but in his grace, he'll show you that. In his grace, he'll show you that. And you can have that life and peace when he does that, okay? So we work through that. We work through relational conflict. We have that. That's very normal. But, you know, God has given us everything that we need to live this life in the Word. He's given it everything. We can do this, guys. We can live this spirit-filled life because he has told us that it's fully equipped. Everything is in here to be sufficient for us as well. Okay, so if you find yourself kind of in that position when you're a little wrecked with anxiety and worry, I'm just going to ask you, is your mind set on the things of the Holy Spirit, or is it set on the things of the flesh? And that's a hard question to ask yourself. And again, when you ask the Lord to identify that in your life, that's a scary, bold prayer, but there really is no other option as a believer in Christ but to live this spirit-filled life, because it's how we were made. Once you have that inside of you, it's like you can't just be like, well, I'm gonna say that I'm a Christian and then just like rip out this Holy Spirit-led life, like the Holy Spirit in there. It's a fact, it's in there. You can, again, like we talked about, you can squish it, it's a kid term, or you can stir it up. You can stoke that flame, okay? And so that's important. And that will set us apart as believers. Right now, I don't believe that a lot of Christians are really truly set apart from those who don't believe in the Lord, because I think that, again, we're wrecked with that anxiety and we don't have that life and that peace that God promises us. And we are like, well, where are you, God? Why aren't you providing this in our life? He is. He's given us everything that we need for that. So, all right, so that's Romans 8. That's the discussion that I kind of wanted to just touch on that. We will keep adding on. Week 3, guys, if you're doing the Romans 8 passage, we're adding on 2 verses this week. Woo! So you guys can do it. I know you can. Just keep going back on all the other verses. Really important. All right, the last thing before we do any questions and answers is to address the question somebody gave to me in the private Facebook group. How long until an exercise and an eating program works? How long does it take, Claire? I mean, is this 5 weeks? Is it gonna work for me during this 5 weeks or no? Okay, so a few things on that. Number one, it depends. It depends, number one, on your commitment and your consistency. People fall off the wagon so fast and so easily when they first start any type of new eating or exercise program. And there's a lot of factors into that. Like that could be a whole nother live that I do when I walk through my clients, like what is it that keeps you kind of not in the game with those things. But it's really important for you to know that you have to stay consistent. Initially, I tell people you've got to kind of be really committed and hardcore for a good 2 to 4 weeks, if not longer. I would like a good 30 days for you to really say, is this program working or not? It is not fair for you to just call it quits after about 1 week or 2 weeks. It really isn't. It has taken your body a long time to get up into this position. You are retraining so many things. There's a lot going on chemically, and you have to really trust the process. So it takes at least 30 days is what I tell people. The longer you can give me, the better off we're gonna see. We start to tweak little things here and there once we get to that certain point. Okay, so after 1 week, you may notice some little changes. After 2 weeks, I would definitely say if you've been consistent, you're definitely gonna start noticing some things. The other point to that is, it depends on how much you have to lose if we're talking about weight loss. If you have a lot more weight to lose, you're going to see, if you're staying consistent, you're going to see things a lot quicker than someone that has 5 pounds, 10 pounds maybe to lose. It's your body, it needs a little bit more to see those changes. So that's why people who have 100 pounds to drop, 70 pounds to drop, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I lost 5 pounds the first week. And the person who has 8 pounds to lose, they're like, oh, that's so depressing. Well, you just have to keep in your own lane, quit looking at everybody else, just keep to your plan and determine, and this goes back to my very first point of the Facebook Live, which is being daily dedicated. It's getting up every single day and cheerleading yourself and saying, I'm doing it again today. You cannot just hope that because you felt fantastic about your program on Monday, that's gonna let you ride until Tuesday, Thursday. I'm a fitness person. This is what I do. Do you know what I have to do every single day? I have to commit both in what my actions are and then how I think about how I'm stewarding my health. I have to do that still. If I didn't, I would be way off base. I have my own set of challenges that I have to deal with as well. I have to cheerlead my heart. There are weeks when I really don't want to do any exercise. This week was energy-wise, various reasons. So it's like, all right, Claire, do you really want this or do you not really want this? What's important to you? What's the long-term goal? You know, all those types of things. So yes, it takes a good month, I would say, until something works. I would say you got to stay consistent. So say you give me a month, but you're like really taking a lot of leeway on that nutrition plan. Or maybe you're not giving me your all on those workouts on the days that are supposed to be pretty hard workouts. Well, I mean, then maybe you're not going to get the results as quickly either. So I want you to commit to it. I want you to say, I'm going to do my best every single day. And I think that really helps as well. And then she asked, well, how long until, what if you stop doing a workout program? How long until everything comes back on? I hope you're not really asking that question because I don't want any of you to stop because that's the problem with our society is we don't have any lifestyle. Nobody knows how to make this a lifestyle. I do understand, however, if you have like maybe a specific time frame, maybe you're doing a 30-day challenge or something like that. It's dependent on every single person as to how quickly the results and things will change in your life. I mean, if someone like myself, I can kind of go a couple weeks maybe with some sloppy eating and it maybe won't change too much on the scale. I'll start to notice it in body composition. I'll be a little softer in my midsection and carry weight a little bit more. My energy level will be lower. I'm not as strong in my workouts. But the scale will start to impact probably, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks into it. I don't have a scale at my house and I don't weigh myself regularly, so I honestly don't know. Your strength, like your workout strength and all that kind of stuff, what you gain. Also, that's going to be dependent as well, depending on how fit you were. If you come into it with a pretty good, fit level and you have to stop because life has gotten crazy or something, you might be okay for a couple weeks. But if you're a beginner and you just started a program and then after 30 days you're like, I'm good, I'm done, I can go back to my other life or whatever, you're probably going to lose that and find it pretty quickly. But the bigger question, or the bigger thing is this: I don't want you to ask the question, how long until it stops? I want you to say, I'm going to keep going at this and I'm going to now learn how to tweak this into my lifestyle. We're going to learn seasons of life. We're going to learn what it's like to be healthy in the fall when the kids start back to school. We're going to learn what it's like to be healthy during the holidays. We're going to learn what it's like to be healthy in the summer when everyone's going out and getting ice cream and having bonfires. It's a constant learning process, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. I want to tell you that if you feel like that's the tug and the pull that you have in your health world, that is a very normal tug and pull to have in the health world. If you feel like, I've got to readjust myself again, good. I'm glad that you have that question. If you actually had the same exact, if nothing stopped you or had any issues, I wonder if you're like human and live amongst other people. Maybe you don't have any issues, I don't know, but I do. I'm with lots of social events and lots of people. I have small kids at my house. So my life is very much like this swinging of seasons of how I do things with my health. And so if you find that you're in that way too, I want to just tell you it's totally fine. It is called living your life. That's what I call it. Everybody else, I don't know. It's up to them, I guess is what I would say. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's not very specific because, again, every person has their own kind of journey. So do you guys have any questions before we finish up the call? Either about the Living Enacted Challenge, any administrative stuff. Where are you getting stuck at? Tell me what's difficult for you right now. And then anyone else who's maybe not in the challenge, if you have a question or if you have a topic you would like me to address on the Facebook Lives, let me know. Julia asks, how often do you change up your exercise routine? Great question. Well, I would say it's seasonal, kind of like the seasons I said right there. So I kind of get myself into a fall routine for the most part. Now, that doesn't mean like when I'm actually in the weight room and I'm doing something, I may play around with, different types of lunges and squats, and do I do biceps on Monday or do I do them on Friday or do I do a full body workout? That I get a little ADD with that, but that's because I'm a trainer and I like to play around with different things. So, but on big picture, how do I change it? It's totally seasonal and it totally goes around my family schedule. So again, it's kind of like the fall, I'll change it up a little bit. Then I'll have like a weird couple weeks when we have like the holidays and the kids are home with me and the weather's really bad outside or something, and then I'll get another kind of a, similar type of a workout maybe in the second semester, and then the summertime, totally, I totally change things up again. So a couple times a year, I would say the base, or, big picture of it just gets a little like, oh, this is way different. But then specifically within workouts and stuff, yeah, I'm always training and trying to keep my body hopping because I've worked out for so long. It takes quite a bit for it to be challenged a little bit, I guess you could say. So hey Heather, you're using your husband's, that's cute. I love cardio workouts and I get really stuck there. Can you tell me how many HIIT workouts a week that I should do? Yeah, HIIT workouts are fantastic. I would say 2 to 3 would be fine if you're pushing it and doing pretty hard. And then if you like cardio workouts as in slow, long distance type of things, you could do 2 of those if you would like in a week as well. I think that mix is pretty healthy and you don't need to do HIIT every single day. You don't have to do that. But I would agree with you that cardio, long, slow distance type of things where you're steady state for every single day of the week is not going to be that conducive for fat loss, weight loss, or your fitness level. So hopefully that helped answer that question. Hi, Stacy. I would love to hear your experience with cooking and eating healthy with kids and getting them on board with eating right. It's a constant process. We never stop. I mean, my kids are just like your kids. There are healthy foods they like and there's healthy foods they don't like. There's foods that I make that they're like, I don't want to eat this soup. We're like, too bad. We're kind of like, you have to try it, because their taste buds change so much. So we want to expose our kids to healthy foods. That's our thought initially. I also get them involved. I'm also big into kind of teaching my kids. So if you're around me, people probably laugh, but instead of saying, we don't talk about calories, I talk about kind of like what's made up in a food item. So I'll be like, Sam, do you know if you had enough protein yet today? Or I'll look at his plate, I'm like, Sam, that's a carb bomb on your plate. And I've taught my kids kind of what the components in a base level of a macronutrient is, a fat and a carb and a protein, and why it's important for them. And so now it becomes less about, again, calorie restriction and trying to be skinny, but more about what does this food chemically do for my body and for their little growing bodies, and my son who's in sports and my daughter who's in dance. And so I also try to teach them. I have them involved. I'll have them look on Pinterest with me. I'll say, what kind of foods does this look good to you? They can help me meal prep as well, which is totally fine. But then I also have a healthy balance. My kids eat junk too, okay? So I'm not a super strict. Some people, I will tell you, are way stricter than I am in that area. I allow my kids to have, they have it. They have pizza and Doritos and pop at times and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that helps at all. I think every family is really different. Kimberly, this may require a longer answer. Encouraging spouses toward a healthy lifestyle. My husband seems to get upset whenever I start to talk to him about a healthy lifestyle, and I'm not sure what to do. Okay. Super normal thing that happens with spouses. I think the whole nagging thing never will work. I kind of liken it to like a faith context. Of course, I put all the parallels together. But I think about in 1 Peter when it talks about just how the quiet way of a wife can really impact and influence her husband. And I think that you can start praying. And I think you can start praying for ways to be a positive influence in his life and for his heart to change a little bit. And I don't know what the specific issue in your house is. I don't know if he really has health issues, if you see him going down a wrong path, or if he doesn't like you being healthy. There's a lot of dynamic in that when we talk about a family and a marriage relationship with eating. Lots of dynamics with that, but I would say start praying about it and make sure your heart's always right when you talk about it, when you approach the issue. You know, if you find that there's a little like, I want to dig at him a little bit, or I'm a little irritated or something, that's probably not the best way to kind of bring up an issue. I think your lifestyle, you setting the tone, is always going to be the best thing in the world, is for you just to live your life. Do your healthy stuff, you know? Be realistic. Don't be a snob about it. Don't be like this health queen that's like, oh, you're eating that? Well, I'm going to stay healthy and live till I'm 75 and you're going to die at 63. Like, don't say comments like that. That's passive aggressive. So, you know, just live that healthy life. Be positive. And again, if you have your kids, you want to be a part of that. You want to bring them around and pray. Here's the other thing I do. I pray for other people to impact the person that I want to impact. So if I really feel strongly about something either my husband's doing or I have a friend doing or a family member, sometimes I'm not the right one to say the thing. Actually, a lot of times I'm not the right one. But you know what? Someone else is. Someone else is the right one to say it, and they're going to listen to that person. So guess what I start doing? I start praying hard. God, bring this person into that other person's life to influence, to kind of lay down some seeds, and then use me and that process as much as you need me to, okay? So I don't know, that's kind of probably how I would do it. Again, maybe nothing super specific, but more in the spiritual end. Another question, do you eat anything before your morning workouts? No. Can you give me ideas before I'm starving before I start? Yeah, now that's a whole nother Facebook Live. I don't eat. I used to, and it depends on how early your workouts are. My workouts are sometimes 5:30 a.m. There ain't no way I'm eating anything at that point. So I've adjusted, I've kind of taught my body how to work out fasted. If I have to wait until 11, it's a little harder for sure. And just so you guys know, I haven't talked about it a lot, but I have been doing intermittent fasting all summer and have been playing around with that a lot. So that means I go 16 hours from eating at night until my first thing in the morning. So I'm usually not eating my first meal until about 11 o'clock or 12. You're gonna ask me 1,000 questions about it. I know you are. It's a personal thing. It's a unique thing. If you wanna learn about it and you wanna try it, research it, try it. You will not just try it and see if you like it. But there is a training period, I would say, as far as that. Now, if you would need breakfast, which I have a lot of friends who definitely say they need breakfast before they eat, or before they work out, I would say go ahead and, you can have a small bit of a carb like a banana and peanut butter, maybe a piece of toast. That again is very specific too though. Everybody's gonna be different. So I'd say trial and error on that. Probably lean towards a carb and a protein is probably what I would say. Joyce, hey girl, how important are supplements? Okay, supplement an already robust and healthy lifestyle. They are not in themselves going to make any fantastic changes to your health. That's number one. Some people are like, oh, I'm gonna start this program, I'm gonna take all these different things, and it's like, well, you're not even working out half the time, or you're still eating crappy foods or whatever. So I want you first, I would rather you put your time and your energy and your resources and your money into getting that consistent. Exercise, eating fairly clean, sleeping, minimizing stress. That's number one. Now, if you feel like, okay, girl, I've got that down fairly decently, and but I still would like to play around with it. I think that those other items, the supplements and stuff, I think that those have their purpose. If you have room in your budget for them and you want to try it, go right ahead. I use BCAAs on my days that I fast. So like after my workouts, when I do my Orange Theory class at 5:30 in the morning and I don't eat until 11, I do have coffee, but I will drink BCAAs afterwards. On days that I spiritual fast, I also drink BCAAs. And then pre-workout, I don't do a pre-workout. If you like it and you think it works for you, go right ahead. I usually use coffee as my pre-workout. That's what I tell people. Vitamins, same kind of thing. You'll hear lots of different things about vitamins and probiotics. Should you take them all the time? Should you rotate them? How do you know if you need this many vitamins or not? It's a very individual type of a process. And so my general rule of thumb is to try it out if you feel like you have it. Do not feel that if you cannot afford supplements, that you have now just ruined everything in your health. I think that there's this idea like everybody has a supplement and I just can't afford it, and so now is it even worth it? It's totally worth it. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't need the supplements, okay? I want to assure you of that. But they can help you, sure. I think for certain people, I think they do help you, and if they help you kind of stay on track because you're spending money and it makes you feel like a healthier person, so therefore that makes you do the other things consistently, then I would say go for the supplements. So Cassie, I like to make healthy little treats that I know my husband will snack on after, and he says how good they are. And he's right, okay. So Cassie, back to the spouse question, she's just saying one way that she kind of sneaks in with her husband is she makes healthy things and he loves them. And then she's like, see, they're really healthy. You did really like that. Tricky. A man's way to the heart is in his belly, right? We all know that. We all know that. So, all right. How do we find out specifics about coaching? Yep, everything's on my website. I just have coaching calls. You can find the information out on my website, clairesmith.me. Jessica, you've been intermittent fasting as well, and you really like it. Do you stick to it 7 days a week, or is it varied? I, for the most part, through the week, I stick to it. The weekend, I kind of go with it. Sundays, I stick to it because before church, I don't really need to eat. It's not a problem. So I wait on Sundays, definitely. Saturdays, I'm flexible. So if the family has pancakes or waffles after my run or something and it's before my 16 hours, I'm not going to flip out about that. That's where I try to make lifestyle changes. But that keeps me in the long-term game, right? That to me keeps it balanced to where I don't hate my life because I have to watch my children eat pancakes and it's 2 hours until my fasting window's ready. And I'm just staring at them salivating and they're like, Mommy, why aren't you eating? So I will, but not every morning. Sometimes they'll eat and I'll just sit there with my coffee or whatever. So I think it's really specific, again, on each person. You got to decide that for yourself if that triggers you into good behavior or bad behavior. And I know it works. At a minimum, I'm always 12 hours fasting, but I've done that forever. And I would say I'm even up to 14 hours for the most part. Some days I can go longer than 16 and I will do 24-hour fasts. I implement that now maybe once every other week or so. So I've been playing around with that a little bit. But yeah, it's been a good thing. Plus, again, spiritual fasting, which I feel like I should do a Facebook Live on that. There's so much to be said for just food and feasting and fasting, what the Bible talks about it, and then like what our bodies really truly need. We're in this society that's just obsessed with eating all the time. And it's like, do you really think that's a good thing? Is that working for us? Like Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you? I don't know. I don't know if it is. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. You guys, look at you trying to get me off on things. All right. Do you have any other questions? Any other questions? Hey, Christina. So yes, share this if you felt it was helpful. I know I was all over the place. It's really hard for me to title these Facebook Lives because I'm all over the place. And then make sure you check in if you're living in Active Challenger. On Sunday, I will give you guys all the new information and we'll kind of go from there. So if you have any questions, any of those watching on the rebroadcast, just leave them below and then I will answer those, okay? Thank you guys so much for being here. Have a fantastic weekend and we will talk to you next week.